Hello, my fellow readers. It's I, Dark Symphony 777, with another fanfiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story, and finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative in the world, so please respect that. So, there's going to be another two stories video. The first story I'm going to be reviewing is The Misadventures of Everyone by The Name You Gave Me. It is a Mega Man fan fiction. More specifically, this is based off the Mega Man Legends franchise, part of the franchise. And this is a very interesting story because this is technically a retelling of the spin-off game of the Legends games, The Misadventures of Tronbon. What's that game about? Well, in order to understand this story, you gotta understand Misadventures of Tronbon. So, in the Misadventures of Tronbon, more or less, it takes place either before Mega Man Legends 1 or between Mega Man Legends 1 and 2, as Teasel Bon, the leader of the Bon clan, racks up a huge debt because I think he was building the Gesellcraft or a second Gesellcraft, and he gets captured trying to finish getting the last of the money, and it's up to Tronbon, the spunky girl that everyone loves, to commit some crimes and get enough money in order to save Teasel, and then also put a stop to the loan shark Lex Loth, who is trying to take over the world with this gigantic reaver bot called the Colossus. That's the game in a nutshell. This is a retelling of that game, a very abridged retelling because it's very, very short. The story starts out with Teasel Bon going through a place called the Nanaki Desert, trying to get a gem called Diana's Tear, which is going to be the last amount he needs to pay off his 7 billion Zenny debt. Teasel, how much did it cost to get all this stuff? Well, Tron, well, it cost, what was that? Did you say 7 billion? Yes. What, did you want a home? Did you want a home, Tron? Yes. Don't question the 7 billion. And then as he's about to go get the gem, he gets caught by Glide. Basically, Glide and him duke it out. They have a small fight. They're both on their legs, but Teasel inevitably won. However, Glide has one last trick up his sleeve, which is a big laser. In the game, the laser was supposed to hit Teasel, and that's how Lex Loth gets his hands on Teasel to start the whole plot of the game. However, in this story, Glide decides to rub it in, saying, "Yeah, and what'll happen if I get my hands on your sister and give her to Lex Loth? He's probably gonna sell her somewhere, right?" Teasel immediately sees red, decides, no, I'll fuck kick your ass. Dodges the laser that was fired at him, charges Glide's machine, bangs it up even more. Glide comes out. Teasel gets out the machine and just starts kicking his ass like, "You did this! Where am I?" And just kicks his ass. Eventually, Teasel goes back to Gesellcraft with Bonbon, explains to Tron, I kicked Lex Lowe's right-hand man's ass. Said, "You what?" So anyway, we are going to prepare for war. And they set up this whole campaign to get enough money in order to get to get a bunch of weapons for him, Tron, and the Servbot to eventually take the fight to Lex Loth and basically take him out before anything happens. So they agreed to the deal. Tron now goes to this little island called Ryship Island. Yeah, the Legends world is like full islands. There, she runs into this clumsy girl named Denise Marmalade. Now, in the game, she's technically the first major boss, and you fight her like 3 times. Once as she's clumsy. Second time, she I know Kung Fu now. Third time, and a robot. But it is more about the first time. The events of the game kind of start at the same. Tron lands on the island. She lands in the wrong spot. Has the serve bots rob a building, thinking it's a bank. Spoiler: it's actually a animal hospital. She never really blows it up. The cops find out about it. She blows up the bridge to prevent the rest of the cops. Denise shows up with an RPG somehow, fires it, takes off Tron. Then she gets a call from her boss telling her that you're fired. Meanwhile, Tron is ticked off, turns her gun hand into a regular hand, charges Denise, and goes, "Bon, bitch slap!" As Denise is suffering an existential crisis, she sees the hand like a foot from her face. Like, why is that hand? Gets sent flying off the island. Tron immediately panics, goes to the cliff, watches the water where she was, tries to like come out, come out, come out, and breaks down once Denise just doesn't come up, and she panics. She asks the server boss, "Don't tell brother." It's like, "Yes, Miss Tron." Goes back to Giselle Trap, tells Tiza herself, completely contradicting herself, which is okay. It's actually completely fine in this case because she's like suffering from guilt, so it makes sense why she would do that. Teasel completely understands, but like very somber. Tells the people to bring the Giselle trap under the water because now they're like, well, we may be pirates, but we're not barbarians. We're not gonna kill anyone. No. However, Denise is still alive, breaks into the Giselle trap, gets into Tron's room. They duke it out. They fight. Tron eventually wins, barely. Teasel and Bond, they look at the whole situation. They ask Tron, "Who was that?" It's like, "That's the person I thought I killed." Bring the ship out of the water. We have a prisoner. They eventually find out that Denise got fired from her job. So Bond's kind of feeling bad because their actions kind of cost her to lose her job. Decides like, "Why don't you work with us? Like, it'd be nice to have a cop you could sleep in." She decides to hesitantly take the job because she doesn't really have anything else to go for. And eventually, Denise is kind of folded into the bonds. They get a bunch of weapons, and Denise's whole job is try and train the serve bots to fire like actual guns, like sniper rifles and RPGs. And then she get like a hilarious moment where she like gets a Desert Eagle and she tries to aim, and then this happens. Yeah, poor bunny. Yeah, they eventually just to give up. It's like, we're just gonna put it on on our little ships and then just be done with it because I don't think you want to get knocked out by your own gun recoil again. They go to an island. They start training. They start practicing. They get assaulted by bird bots, which were built by Lex Loth. Hurt Tron. Teasel sees red again. It's like, oh hell no. But just bum rushes Lex Luthor's office, gets trapped. Now Tron and Denise decide to try and do a full stage assault. Denise goes in there by herself, rescues a bunch of other diggers and also Teasel. The Colossus eventually wakened. They fight. They take out the Colossus. Lex Luthor dies, and everyone kind of becomes happy because they realize, oh, these pirates, they saved the day. They saved the world. Tron gets Mega Man. Why is Mega Man there? Fan service. That's why. And then even Teasel's like, oh yeah, we're gonna party until our ship's back up and running. And we're just gonna start robbing blind again. You got a location for the wallets, right? Servbot? Yes, Mr. Teasel. And eventually, Denise kind of realizing, I kind of like working with these guys. They're goofy. They're fine. That's more or less the plot. That's a simplistic version of the plot, kind of. But as a plot, I don't think you can get much different from a retelling of such a weird game. It's fine for what it is. It is what I think would have made sense as a retelling, as much as you can do for retelling in this specific game. Granted, it's fan fiction. You can kind of go however you want to do it. You could have made it super dark, but I maybe that the author went more a goofy route. It fits the Bonds, their whole shtick compared to every other major villain in every other Mega Man game is the fact that they're more goofy villains. Like the Bonds, their whole spiel compared to every other villain is like they kind of actually have like legitimate respect for Mega Man. And it's like, he keeps kicking our asses, but we're gonna keep trying, right, Bertrand? Right? Why are you looking at him like that? Look, a wallet. Where? And they're just more inherently goofy and kind and just more comedic relief than anything. They're still considered the main villains of Mega Man Legends 1 and 2 until the very end. But they still, which kind of shows that their whole shtick is just they're meant to be the villains, and then the end game comes and it's like, no, they ain't villains anymore. Here come two robot and people wanting to kill everyone. Goodbye. And then the Bonds are like, team up with Mega Man, team up with Mega Man. All right, teaming up with Mega Man. So, yeah, with the plot, I think it's fine. It fits the characters. Characters. The characters are fine. I do want to bring attention to the fact that I don't think I'm pretty sure this is the only Mega Man fan fiction that focuses on Teasel as a character. I actually hold on. Let's actually look. Teasel. Where is Teasel? There he is. Oh, he has more than I expect. Broke just okay. Um. Okay, there's more Teasel fixed than I was expecting. Okay then. Oh gosh, shut myself up with that. I do like Teasel's. I do like Teasel's character. Instead of being like the complete goofball he is, he's still a goofball. But this story more focuses on him as a fan, as like the big brother figure, because there's a part of the story where Denise is actually reading Teasel's journal because she kind of dirtied her glasses, and she knows that Teasel probably has like glass cleaner, and finds the journal. It's discovered that Teasel actually murdered someone, and it's something he's actually regretted for a long. He's kind of sort of regretted for a long time, and when she confronts him, he's like, "Oh, here's the facts," and finds out that this was a guy that was actually murdering a bunch of people, and he was actually searching for his parents' killer. And this guy he just mistook him this guy for the other guy. But this guy also killed a bunch of other people, just not specifically his family. So what would you have me done? Let this guy live, continue killing, or I kill him and say give a bunch of people solace? And Denise is like, that's understandable. So I do like the angle the author went for Teasel. Tron is basically just Tron. There's really not much done with her character. This is more Teasel and Denise's story, more or less. Then we get Denise, who's basically a goofball. She's a very clumsy character. She's presented as comic relief. Like I said, we got the whole gun thing. But she's also someone who kind of has to deal with the fact that she lost her job. She now like technically working for criminals, and and she's just trying to figure everything out and trying to find her purpose after kind of failing at being a cop so much. Now she's trying to trying to get better at the whole thing. It's very bare bones. Like, it's very, very bare bones. There's barely a character arc for her in the story, but there is a character arc for her. Pace wise, this is very fast paced. There's like 4 areas. No, wait. 6 areas of Misadventures of Tron Bond. There's the prologue area, which we have. There was the puzzle area, which they do kind of go in the end game. That's where Lex Luthor is set up. The whole thing with Denise, that was a part of the mission. However, there is the farm area, completely skipped. There was and also the underground area where you play as a serve bot. That's completely gone. And then also the end game, which I think takes place. I don't think takes place at the harbor. I think it takes place somewhere else. I can't remember. But yeah, there's like 2 complete whole areas gone. It's fine, pace wise. Could have been better. There's a lot more you could have done with the story, like kind of flesh out Denise's relationship with Bond, or even Denise's relationship with Tron, because their whole relationship is kind of off. There's more that could have been done. Writing style. No, grammar. You tell me. Grammar and sentence structure. Yeah. More or less walls of text. It's so weird because you get the first story, you get the first couple chapters. It's like, oh, it's fine, and you get to hear, and it's just this. I'm guessing the author just completely forgot to properly edit this, or Fanfiction was going through one of its days where it's like it was just fucking up the editing, and the author didn't even notice. Only thing I can think of. That's really it. Would I recommend this story? I wanted to think about this. It's so hard because on one hand, the actual dialogue itself is not bad. It's decent enough. Teasel is at least a moderately engaging character. Denise is passable. Tron is just there, but again, she's passable. The plot makes sense, but on the other hand, this writing style, it's the fact that everything feels rushed, the fact that Lex Luthor just kind of exists, and some of the whole plot points are really, really badly handled. I do think this story has some good, but the story also has a lot of bad. I don't know. I think this story should ultimately come down to whoever's reading it. Personally, I don't think the story is that bad. It's very rough around the edges. It's excruciatingly rough. There is a lot that could have been done with this. But I think ultimately, at the end of this day, I don't think this author was trying to write a very, very deep story. I think he just had a really neat idea. It's like, I'm just gonna go for it. And just had no worries. Just went balls to the walls. It's like, I'm just want to do this idea. I hear the idea. I'm good. No, all just balls and no. I don't know where I'm going with that. So I do think ultimately, if you like this story or not, it's going to be up to you. That's ultimately what I have to say. What would be my favorite part? I don't know. I just like the idea of a gigantic robot charging a cop and then just bitch slapping her off a cliff. I don't know why. I think the image is hilarious. It just exists. What would I do to fix the story? Honestly, I'm pretty sure the author's probably not writing anymore or interested in that. So I'm honestly interested in seeing someone take this story, remaking it, and probably just doing a more expansive idea. Maybe if there's one thing I at least want to fix, I think just do the fight scenes better. Like the fight scenes are really, really badly written in the story. So like the whole part with Denise and Tron, that could have been done better. The whole fight with the Colossus, that could have been done better. Just, and probably like a lot of more better developing the bonds as a familiar unit. Because individually, Tron and Teasel are fine, but Bond's kind of like just left out of the whole thing. Again, it could be the fact that he only says like one word. Babu is like, oh, you can't really do much with him. You could have easily done like the whole body language thing. Uh, there's a lot you could have done, and also worked more on Denise's relationship with the serve bots. There's a lot more quality of life sort of deals that could have been added. Ultimately, this story is just this story exists. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I don't really have much else to say about it. So yeah, Misadventures of Everyone. On to the second story, which is Talons and Tails by Weevil? Is this the Pokemon name? Weevil. I don't know. Weevil. This is a How to Train Your Dragon and Wings of Fire crossover. And I think this story is good, but forgettable. Let me explain. So the story has the characters of Wings of Fire. It is actually a book series about dragons by Twee T. Sutherland. I've not heard of it. I never read it until this. I only did like a curiosity check to see who the characters are. That's really all I did. When it came to the plot of the story, so all the characters for Wings of Fire, they're traveling across traveling away from their land because a random group of Rain Wings and Night Wings decide just disappeared, and they're just being a search party. They eventually go out to the ocean and eventually come across Burke. Basically, how they do it is they come across Tiff and Tuff's dragons. They kind of see them in the clouds. It's like, oh, there's a dragon. What kind of dragon is that? It's like, let's go look for it. Okay. They come across Burke. Hiccup introduces themselves. They're able to talk to Toothless, and we get the introductions. They basically get to know each other. They find out that there is a dragon that is responsible for giving birth to the Night Furies. They eventually capture her. Well, they don't really capture her. She kind of curb stomps most of them until like, what's his name? Kleeby? Keebly? I think that's his name. Decides to go for the diplomatic course. Like, we need no harm. We just want to talk to you. Like at least at least humor us. It's like, okay. Then they find out, oh, she sent the dragon back herself. Yeah. So we wasted our time. Yeah, we kind of wasted our time. And eventually they say goodbye to Hiccup and the gang, and then they leave. Despite the fact I literally summed it up in like a minute and a half, it's as deep as you can get for this type of story, because ultimately this story is not meant to be a deep story. Ultimately, this is supposed to be more of a conversation story, like the whole two cultures thing. They kind of meet and they just kind of interact. It's not a deep plot. It's not a complicated plot, but what the author wants to do is just introduce these two groups of characters to each other, and then just kind of just have them interact and just talk to each other. In that regard, I think it's fine. Characters, despite the fact that there's next to no character development, there is a lot of character depth to the story. And I think this story did that very well. Again, this kind of harks back to what I said in Daily Equestria Life. you can have a lot of depth for a story and not much character development as long as it doesn't stretch itself too far. This is a very good example of that in action. There is no character arcs necessarily. There's possibly one when they're trying to capture the dragon witch, and then she kind of just outsmarts them all. But there is a lot of character moments. There's a lot of character depth to it, with everyone kind of just interacting with each other and kind of saying hello and explaining how they work and how, and even like Turtle uh uh enchanting Keebly's earring in order to be able to talk to to have him and the rest of the dragons talk to Hiccup and everyone, so then actually talking and kind of just introducing each other and just telling them about like what they do, how each of their cultures handle things. That's a lot of depth and a lot of the moments that occur over the course of the story. It balances the fact that there is no true character development and not really a character arc. It's good for what it's trying to do. Prove Provide solid depth and give to contrasting fandoms. Just a simple chance to meet. Grammar wise, perfect grammar. I think there might have been one grammar error, but I think that was one of the I think that was actually this character's name, and I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on that. Pace wise, also very well done. It doesn't really go that fast, because why would the story go fast? Because it's just a bunch of several conversations that happen over the course of the story. That's all it is. And it doesn't drag itself too long by making the conversations drag on. They're very curt, they're very to the point. They fit the characters. Even if I don't know any of these Wings of Fire characters in the stories, I get the whole point of their characters as over the course. They don't stick in your mind, and it's very much a case where you need to know the story to understand these characters. But I will say that the characters are fine, and they actually even fit the whole pacing of the whole story, because they're just there. They realize they're not supposed to be there that long. The story only takes place over the course of maybe a few hours, or no, yeah, over the course of like a day or two, and then they go back. So it's not much. So there's not much you can do in that context without stretching it out egregiously long, and that actually probably dragged the quality of the story down. I do think that overall this is a solid, if forgettable story. Like, ultimately, I think the story, it's fine for what it's trying to do, but it's one of those stories that you need to understand. Specifically, Wings of Fire. Like, this is mostly a Wings of Fire fan fiction, where like just somehow that takes place in the How to Train Your Dragon, specifically like Burke, or like part of it. I was like, fine. Ultimately, the fact that there's like no character arcs, there's no character development, which is fine. Not every this story is not supposed to be about that. However, it kind of leaves you wanting more. I get there's even a story reason why there's like that they can't really stay there long, because Zuri is like trying to be in exile and trying to hide everyone thing, and she basically is like, if you leave, you're not allowed back. Otherwise, I will kill you. And they even understand she will completely destroy us. Hmm? We'll leave. Good. So this is a very airtight story, and it's just forgettable to me. I know ultimately it's gonna be up to perspective. Like, some people are gonna say, "Oh, I really like the story." It's like, I think personally, I think the story is good. It's just I'm just probably gonna forget about it like after this video airs. Like it is what it is. That's just the nature of the beast. So I'm not gonna very insult the author or trash the author for anything because ultimately there's nothing wrong with the story. It's just that's just my perspective. I just personally find it forgettable. Some people won't. Some people will. That's just the nature of the beast. Would I recommend this story? If you're a Wings of Fire fan, yes. If not, probably steer clear because nothing really happens. Well, nothing really happens besides a bunch of conversations. These types of stories, not for everyone. It is what it is. Do I have a favorite part? No. Well, nah. Don't really have anything. No, wait. No. A very humorous moment. Rough Tough randomly discussing Alzheimer's. Because that's completely out of left field. And I don't know what to think of it. Besides, I don't think Rough Tough is the type of character to not think. And then all of a sudden you start talking about Alzheimer's? I'm more confused over that. But if is there anything I would change to the story? Yes, actually, one thing. So Turtle enchants Keebly's earring in order to translate talking from human to dragon. However, the fact that none of the Burke members of Burke react to the fact that their dragons are talking is kind of a missed opportunity. What I was simply at is one, just have like Toothless attack like talk something after the earring is enchanted, and then everyone's like stares at Toothless. It would have been a nice moment, and also for people who never heard of Wings of Fire, have like a little note right here that basically just kind of tells you how big each of the Wings of Fire dragons are. Because I personally had trouble figuring out the scale of each dragon because they never really described it. It's one of those things that you need to know, that if you know, you know. But to the people who don't know, they're gonna, especially those who like visualize things, they're gonna have like very very hard time visualizing how big the dragons are because they never there's no there's no way to tell any scale. So probably just a little note to tell you how big each dragons are. That's fine. And that is Talons of Tail. Sorry I didn't have much more to say about it than Misadventures of Everyone, but I do think at the end of the day, this is a solid story. It just doesn't stick out to me. It's just one of those things. So this has been Dark Symphony 777, and I will see you next time, and